Welcome to the Weird Works podcast. I'm Dr. Kristy, your host. Join us for conversations about alternative and sometimes controversial healthcare topics. This podcast will provide the evidence that you need in order to make informed decisions about your health, to empower you with the facts that you need to advocate for your health, and to encourage you that there is hope your body heals. Join us from experts from all things weird, as well as the testimonies of people with stories of radical healing who were once told that perhaps their condition was a death sentence, that they would just need to live with it, or that drugs and invasive surgery were the only answer. Let's get into agreement that if there is something natural and non-invasive that could be helpful, that it could be your first option rather than your last resort. Hey everybody, so today I have the honor of interviewing a fellow colleague, Dr. Cailen Braund. She is a native of Michigan and she grew up in a holistic-minded family. Actually, since the age of 5, she's been using natural remedies, and she went to a nutrition response testing practitioner. Like, holistic medicine was their medicine of choice all along. She has an undergraduate degree in dietetics and nutrition from East Michigan University. And she also received a scholarship to pole vault. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about that in her interview. Her passion for health, functional medicine, and sports soared her to new heights as she pursued a further degree in chiropractic at Life University in Marietta, Georgia. And before deciding to bring her passion for helping others heal through chiropractic to the Jekyll Island, St. Simons Island, Brunswick area, she practiced on the coast of Georgia in the small town of St. Mary's, near the King of Kings Bay Naval Base. Before selling her office in St. Mary's, she was active in her community, serving as president of the Kings Bay Rotary Club. There, she also won a CrossFit competition in 2017. She specializes in upper cervical chiropractic, and she uses muscle testing and blood labs to review functional nutritional deficiencies. She's a published author, publishing a research article on ankylosing spondylitis, or AS. Her passion for nutrition, yoga, and helping to get kids moving keep her active in the Golden Isles communities. Dr. Braund currently resides in St. Simons Island with her husband, who is a psychotherapist, and their 2 children. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Weird Works podcast. So I have a fun guest for you guys today. I have Dr. Cailen. She's from St. Simons Island, so not too far away from us. We're neighbors. And her practice is called Alpha Care Health. And the reason why I have Dr. Cailen on the show is because our standard process rep gal was actually really bragging on you and some of the cool stuff you're doing with children in your practice. And she's like, you guys just have to get to know each other. And when I went and stalked you a little bit on social media, and it came to me like, oh my gosh, we last year did the well-stocked medicine cabinet for adults, teaching people how to use leftover bottles of stuff that they have, and also just what to stock for like acute care treatment. And just what if you call on Thursday night and our office is closed from Friday to Monday? So what to have on hand. So we're going to do the kids version with Dr. Cailen today. So this is going to be so fun. So Dr. Cailen, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And if you guys missed that episode, it's episode 51. If you want to go back and have the adult one, and then today, I think we're episode 60 for today. So I told Dr. Cailen when we were just chatting, like my podcast is really like my passion project because it helps me get to know other cool industry leaders and practitioners. They're doing awesome stuff. And it sounds like our practices are actually really similar. So you're a chiropractor.
I am.
And then you muscle test.
I do muscle testing, nutrition response testing, yes.
Yeah, we love it. So this is great because our audience like can totally track with what you do. And then you also do functional medicine as well.
I do, yes.
Yeah, so very super similar practice. Like, we get to know each other. We're going to call you one of our sister offices if you're okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so because we're going to be talking a lot about supplements and products and what to use them for, I'm going to give my big old disclaimer so nobody can say I didn't say it. So I like raise my right hand, right? Like I, as a chiropractor, cannot diagnose or cure any diseases or named conditions. So that is not the intention of this podcast. We're just telling you cool things that are natural that you can keep to help empower your own body to heal in certain circumstances when you might want to have stuff on hand. Most of our audience, like us, realize like if there is something natural and non-invasive that we could use, we tend to be a community of people that would err on wanting to use that first instead of like a last resort. And so the whole idea of being well stocked and prepared is what we know in our medicine being more natural minded is usually the sooner you intervene, the more likely that our natural methods will work for you, right? So
Absolutely.
it's just good to know this stuff in advance and decide what of it you want to pull and have in your medicine cabinets. And then my second disclaimer, and I'm going to let Dr. Cailen, I bet she's going to say what I would want her to say. Do you want to discuss about how when we're talking about supplements, not all supplements are created equally and what makes the things we're going to be talking about today different than maybe some of the over-the-counter stuff people could just go grab?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to fare on the model of if you look at the food guide pyramid, which is wrong, if we look at that and we redo the food guide pyramid, then we're going to start with whole foods at the bottom. We're going to start with those first. We're wanting to heal our body with food, and it has to be the whole food form. Organic, obviously, is best. And then the next step to filling our deficiencies is whole food supplements, and that's what we use. So you can get a lot of supplements on Amazon, on CVS, or wherever you get them, but they're not the whole food supplements, the ones that we're looking at. The ones that we're looking at come from a farm, an organic farm. I love this farm so much. I've actually taken these products since I was 5 years old.
Oh,
The
cool.
first product I took was Congaplex, and now, and I can get into this later, my children take it if they have a cough or the first sign of a cold. So I love their products from their farming aspect. The fruits and vegetables are grown in 7-inch thick soil versus the ones that you get at the grocery store now that are grown in 2-inch thick soil with not as much nutrients involved. So I just love how they farm those products. But then the next part of the pyramid would be isolates. And this is usually the isolates that you get at, your Walmart or Amazon. They're just not the whole food supplement form, and they're actually more damaging to you than a whole food form. And then at the top, some people do have to take medication. I would put pharmaceuticals at the top, if they are, in dire need of that. So that is my model that I take.
I think that's a cool thing. I'd never heard that, so I love that. See, I
Yeah.
told you we're going to learn so much stuff from each other. It's going to be super fun. Well, and I did the tour. Have you gone to the?
Oh, I want to so bad. I have 2 children under 4, and
Yeah,
I really wanted to this fall, but it is on my list. I really want to
I
go.
know. I actually wish I could take every patient there just so you could
Yes.
see like everything that Dr. Cailen was saying, like in the quality and the steps and the care that they take. Like it's just so amazing. And
And it's a
when I was
family-based company.
yeah,
It's amazing.
totally. Well, and when I was there, I had this like thought. I was like, oh my gosh, like if we like the week after we toured Standard Process, like went to like the Centrum, you know, facility, like Centrum Vitamins or something like that, it would be such a stark difference because instead of being like, here's the juicers where we cold press and get all the good stuff out of the plants, and here's where we dry it, and here's the honey spinner to create the tablets, like they'd be like, this is where we add blue dye and coal tar, and
Oh.
I bet that these other facilities, what I'm saying is, not only would be a stark contrast, but it also like they probably wouldn't even let you tour the facility.
Yeah. Oh, you're making me want to go now.
Yeah, that it is worth it. I'll tell you, it is worth it. Okay, so well, do you have like before we get into different like conditions and situations, do you have like a favorite product that you would never not have in your home for your kiddos?
Catalyn.
Yeah.
Dr. Royal Lee, who, formulated all of these back in the 30s. It's the number one whole food vitamin, and it's affordable, and you don't lack any nutrition in it. It's the best vitamin. They have it in chewable form. So my kids eat them eat so many. They don't just eat one. It's kind of like candy to them. So Catalyn, absolutely.
I love that you said they chew it. So there is this thing with chiropractic kiddos, by the way, where like there's videos and videos of them just chewing tablet and stuff that it's literally just ground up animals and plants and they taste like dirt and salt. And these kids don't bat an eye. So in a little
Yeah.
bit, Dr. Cailen, maybe you can teach us some compliance stuff because not every kiddo was raised on chewing Catalyn. And so what we know is like sometimes when kiddos got their start on some of the rice cereals or more processed foods, that their palate isn't going to be like, oh yeah, this is delicious. But you can get them there. And then our mamas, like as soon as the babies are born, I'm like, the biggest gift you could give yourself is start putting nasty tasting stuff in their mouths and let that be the first thing. Do you agree?
That is exactly what I did with my own children, and they don't bat an eye now.
It's
So I
so
wonder if
cute.
that is the difference. Start them young. As soon as they get their teeth, go.
Yeah. Well, because sugar, like the desire for sugar is a learned response. And so
Mm.
kiddos would never develop a taste for it if it wasn't given to them in the first place. So that's like a big key, like to know, like just don't give it to them and they won't desire it, you know. It's not to say that they won't think it tastes good or whatever, but they would consume a much smaller portion if it was put in front of them. You know, like chiropractors always talk about like their kids go to birthday parties and like while everybody else is eating cake and all they're running around and playing and they might have a bite or two of the cake and a sip of the soda, but like usually they leave it like, you know, unfinished on the table to go play. So that's the
Mm.
difference, right?
Wow, it is. I never thought of it like that, but my kids do that.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what you raise them on and what you give them first is how their palate will develop. Okay, so some of these categories are huge, like immune, because we know we break immune down into different challenges and different interferences and drainage. And now there's new mutated viruses, which if I say that, hopefully everybody knows what I'm talking about without me saying the word. But favorite immune products. Now, these are all for kids. Adults can take these too. So there are adults that can't chew or prefer to just not to have less pills to have to swallow and consume. So we don't have, unfortunately, a chewable or a liquid in every single category. So I'd love to hear what you guys use.
Yeah, for children, the children's immune, my kids will chew that one. That one has the elderberry in it, which is usually a buzzword for people, but it has such great ingredients in it. So I always keep that one in hand in the winter months. Um, the immune to, I make my own gummies because children love gummies, but I make them out of gelatin and they enjoy the process of making them with me, and I buy the molds, the gummy bears, the worms, like all the weird stuff. And they love making our own herbal mixes and using honey instead of sugar. I use Everly drink mix, which is fun for kids because it tastes so good, but they don't use the dyes, and they have beets for the red instead of the red dye, things like that.
Yeah.
So definitely the children's immune, if we're talking standard process, making my own gummies, um, really boosting, honestly, their uh, vitamin D levels is really key. And I really like fish oil. You
Mhm.
can't go wrong with fish oil and starting them young. I've researched so many different companies and I really think I found one that I like. I actually tested myself. I did the at-home omega-3 test. Mine were
Mhm.
so low, I was shocked. And then I was able to raise my omega-3 in 3 months by using NutriWest fish oil. So that's what I source. And they have a great tasting ones for kids. I always put a drop here and there in their drinks and they don't even know it. So,
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You can hide it. You can get creative, and every kid is different. And don't you find sometimes like something will start working, and then the kid kind of catches on or sees mom
yeah.
putting in it, and then you kind of have to like recreate the wheel and find another thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We tried so many things. And the thing is less is more. So it's like if like try half a tablet. And if they're tolerating that, go to more. And you can do smoothies, you can do gummies, you can mix it in so many different ways and they don't even know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that's immune. What about digestion? And so digestion again is another huge category because it could be constipation, it could be diarrhea, it could be like food intolerances and sensitivities.
Mm-hmm. Multizyme is great. I love multizyme with kids. It helps with a lot of the food allergies, and it's easy to break apart and put in smoothies. Um, spoons of apple cider vinegar here and there, that's going to help digestion as well. Teaching the kids like just to move their bodies, right? Like not sitting all the time. Digestion is huge. Like after dinner, we get up and go for a walk at night.
Mhm.
Teaching them those habits early is going to be key to for a lifetime. So
Yeah.
that's fun.
I always joke, I'm like, well, what happens when you take a dog for a walk? They go poop.
Yes.
So if you're constipated and you need to get things moving, and move your body, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Mhm. So I was just trying to kind of run down a list of common ailments for children. So ears is a big thing. Like I know you're a chiropractor and you are welcome to talk about chiropractic in addition to like favorite supplement remedies for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually specialize in upper cervical chiropractic. So the
Oh.
adjustment is a lot different than general in the fact that I take temperatures on both sides of the spine. And if one side is colder than the other, that's indicative of me delivering an adjustment. So I love your podcast name, by the way. Side note, Weird Works, because I feel like I do all the weird stuff and I always have. Like I pole vaulted in college. Who does that? And then when I went to chiropractic school, I had a knee chest adjustment. And in chiropractic school, it was my second quarter. It ruined me because I was like, "Oh no, what was that?" And I need to know how to do that adjustment. And then I didn't look back. So going through school is kind of hard when I had to learn all the other techniques when my heart was like really sold on this knee chest. And it was kind of a male dominated, I would say. I didn't meet many women in this technique. And I'm like, oh, I always choose the weird stuff. But this adjustment, it works so well with kids and ear infections. And I always try to tell moms and dads, like, oh man, if just bring them in, let me check them, let me see if the temperature is colder on one side or the other. You have a bowling ball size sitting on a stick, your head is really the size of a bowling ball as you get older. But and if it's off center, the tubes in the ears when you're young sit horizontal. And if they get tipped a little bit, then that bacteria is going to sit in the ears. So we have to even that out. We have to make sure the head is literally sitting on the spine straight. I see great results with ear infections in kids and asthma and allergies. Those are really common. I see a lot of epilepsy, seizures as well.
Cool. I know kids are, they are very fun. They're challenging, but they're fun to treat because they respond so quickly, right? And for
Yes.
adult population, do you see adults too?
Oh, yes. Hmm.
Okay, I didn't know. So the adult population, of course, like there's more chronic issues, right? Like a lifetime of like degenerative stuff and whatever, more complicated cases. And then kiddos, like it's just like turning on little light switches and things just like get better, right?
It is so great. And I really take an easy approach. If they're not feeling it that day, then I ease their way. The temperature checks really help get them comfortable if they've never been adjusted before. And then I have them check their teddy bear and check their temperature. Like we just play until I get it done, but we just kind of get them comfortable. It's not just like this big crack to the neck or whatever people think it is going to be. It's
Yeah.
not scary. I never wanted to be the scary doctor that kids come to because I remember being a kid and I was like, I don't want to go to the doctor. So
Yeah.
I make it fun.
Yeah. Well, when kids warm up, everybody's different as far as how long it takes them to get comfortable. But what mamas report is like, my kid tells me, like, asks to go to the chiropractor. They tell them when they need to
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah. And they're so in tune with their body. They know.
Mhm.
They're yeah.
They do. Okay. Favorite products for fevers.
Oh, this is my favorite one. Calcium lactate has to be in everybody's medicine cabinet or herbal cabinet, is what we say in our house.
Mhm.
The first sign of a fever for adults and children, calcium lactate. It feeds your white blood cells. It is so great. taking Tylenol and stopping a fever, you have to let your body go through what it needs to go through to heal. And calcium lactate is my go-to.
It's kind
And
of
it
fun,
tastes
right?
good. You can mix it in with anything.
Yeah, it's a powder. It is
Mhm.
available in a powder. They have tablets too, but with the kiddos, it's usually powder.
Yes.
And sometimes kids are like sensory, they don't like the grittiness because it's calcium. So, do you ever have people mix it in something warm to just better dissolve it?
Oh yeah. It dissolves really well. It's not one of those that doesn't break down easily. So you can you can put it in warm or hot.
Okay. Sometimes kids are just sensory, so they're like, "Oh, I can taste the grittiness." But you might now we have
Yeah.
those what are those things that the frothers and it mixes things so much nicer than just like a spoon. So it might require that. Yeah, so that's a great one. And it is true because the calcium helps feed your immune system instead of suppress the fever, which your fever is your innate intelligence. So if your body's trying to raise its temperature to fight something, you don't want to interrupt that natural process because you're just going to prolong it, prolong the illness. What about for overstimulation? So this could be like concentration and focus just in general, but it also could be like ADHD hyperactivity.
Yeah, so that's where I'm gonna go to more
Mhm.
herbals. Like just smelling rosemary. I like to bring out my essential oils for that. Just really getting the nerve system calmed down is key. Um, I do a mix of different herbs for that. Bacopa is great. I like that one a lot. But that one I tend to have to like put in a shake or something that hides the flavor because herbs are really potent and less is more on the herbal side of things. But
Which is,
even like
go ahead.
yeah, even before like if you have to take a test, not even for the little kids, but this is so great for sending if you can do this, but sending like a piece of rosemary to school with one of your
Mhm.
kids right before a test. It helps them really dial in their focus.
That's fun. We should make little sachets.
Mm-hmm.
Fun DIY project for home. And Bacopa is available in a liquid, right?
It is. Mhm.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's super funny because when you talk to people from Standard Process, the herbs come from Australia, and in Australia, they just all take liquid herbs. And of course, liquid herbs are gross and bitter and potent, you know what I mean? But they think like I think they only made the tablets for us like soft Americans who won't like drink from stuff.
Yeah, and I just learned about MediHerb in Australia that the reason why MediHerb is so great is because we take it from the root there. And in America, they source herbs from the leaf. It's just not as potent. So
Mhm.
sourcing from MediHerb and Australia is key.
Yeah. And they used to teach us that like the herbal world in Australia is as highly or tightly regulated as the pharmaceutical world is in America. So like they're very
Amazing.
strict. Like it is their medicine. So it's great that we get to get our herbs from there for sure. It's not the same thing. But remember, like, did you ever learn the echinacea, for example, like the root can go like up to 6 feet underground. And so it takes more labor intensive processes to harvest the root. And so you're right, like the stuff you get at Costco or the big box stores that are dirt cheap and in a 500 pill mega bottle, like it's just the leaves and there's not the bioactive ingredient isn't even in the leaves. So that's what Dr. Cailen is talking about.
Yes.
Your health and how you feel on a daily basis directly impact your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. We will help you reprogram your way of thinking and be on a plan that works for your body instead of against it. It is time to rewrite the false belief that health abnormalities are normal and that it just is what it is. You do not have to live with feeling less than 100%.
We invite you to take a serious look at how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Is what you're doing working? Do you want to learn how to live a more holistic life that's still enjoyable and fun? The 90-10 lifestyle can be the bridge from subpar results to the vibrant and abundant lifestyle that you've been looking for. So click the link by this video so you can get started today. We truly know that this program can change your life. We'll see you on the inside.
Okay, how about sleep? Because some of our kiddos just don't want to wind down.
Oh, I love this one. So just go back to, I don't know if you guys ever watched Beatrix Potter. What is the rabbit's name? Isn't it Peter? Peter the rabbit.
Yeah.
Chamomile tea.
Yay.
It's just like the mother's tea. It's nurturing. It's just a nice, warm, calming tea to have before you go to bed. And I source that out of Mountain Rose Herbs.
Yeah, I just got their catalog this week. I'm like,
oh, I love it.
Make some stuff. Okay, so allergies is a big one. We got a lot of, I don't know, if you're not that far away, so you probably still have all the rashy, itchy kids.
Yeah. Allergies is my go-to is Allerplex, of course, Antranex for a drippy nose, but that's really hard to, kids don't really like the taste of that, so you got to hide that one in too.
Yeah,
but Allerplex I love. I throw a lot of Congaplex in there too.
Yeah.
Congaplex really works well, that blend. But also too, if you're looking on the essential oil side, the mix of lavender, lemon, and peppermint. That is really great just to put around your nose. And if you're really congested and just kind of, put that all over your throat throughout that season, that really helps combat it.
Yeah, and depending on what brand people use, one of the companies, doTERRA does have their they make it, like they already have the blend created for you.
Yes, Tri-Ease, yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
and
you don't always have to blend your own either.
And if your kids are into the neti pot, I love the neti pot. I put GSE drops, grapefruit seed extract drops in the neti pot. Or if you need to, if they won't do that, then I just use a syringe and I put a little bit of water in there with the GSE, of course, filtered water. And then if you go into a full-blown sinus infection, I will tell you what works best. And this is from MediHerb too. Not MediHerb, I'm sorry. From Mountain Rose Herbs. I use the echinacea root powder, and that will clear up sinus. It's a little, it burns a little bit in the sinus, but it's so worth it. That's kind of my go-to. And for adults, the Sinus Forte from Standard Process works amazing for me. Everyone's different. Of course, I would say you have to get tested to see what you test for.
It's funny because our patients know better. Like they won't take anything. Like even on a podcast, they'll come in and ask for us to muscle test them, which is great. Like it's what we want you to do. Once you know the gift of muscle testing, it's like why wouldn't you just bother getting tested, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so then drainage, right? Like I don't think people realize that in other countries, drainage is like the #1 go-to thing, even before immune support or before they do a detox and whatnot. So your drainage pathways are multiple, but in this case, I'm talking mostly like sinus congestion, mucusy, goopy, that kind of stuff.
Antranex, 100% Antranex. And this was, kind of what I grew up with too. It was Congaplex and Antranex.
Yeah.
For sure, it dries you up.
To get the kiddos to take the Antranex, because it is a tablet, so it can be crushed, but it's kind of fishy.
It's that one's tough for me. It's kind of like if they're just feeling down and out, like they'll take anything. Sometimes I can get a little bit, sometimes I just scrape it just a little bit, so I'm not like putting tons of it in, and they're just gonna get it in every time they drink. And of course, when kids are sick, we're filling them with fluids, so they're getting it in. It's just more on the parents to have to like, here, have another sip,
Yeah.
And you kind of like do that throughout the day instead of just like this one, you need to take 2 supplements right now in this sitting. Like I really try to spread it out, and they need that anyway because they're probably sick for a couple days.
Right. That's helpful just to get like a little bit of support throughout the day, like with consistency anyway.
I'll also do like the foot detox for kids. They love to stick their feet in those. I do castor oil packs while they're watching a movie, like
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah. Lots of cool things to put in your natural medicine cabinet that doesn't have to always be things that you swallow or take orally.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a weird thing that we've come to be known for in Jacksonville. So all these pediatricians and other chiropractors send us all the rash children. Like we've become known as the rash experts. And so are you seeing the same stuff?
Oh, I see tons of eczema. Oh, it's like
Mhm.
epidemic. Our gut health, our microbiomes are just terrible.
Yeah.
And it's passed on genetically from the mom. And I'm just learning so much lately into the microbiome and the importance. And it's not just like, oh, my kid had yogurt and they're getting probiotics. Like you have to really source the probiotics for kids now. And sometimes you can have too much probiotic. This isn't about like you have to be on a probiotic the rest of your life. Like you need to, for one, the skin has its own microbiome. So I like to use Systemic Formula. They have a skin microbiome. It's kind of my lotion that I use now. Um, Pro Symbiotic from Standard Process. I do my own deodorant. So I put like 8 capsules in of that with some lavender. Um, and I mix that with arrowroot powder, and I put that on in the morning. You know, the weird stuff.
Do you have a source? And we're gonna post like how to get a hold of Dr. Cailen and look up all her good info. Do you have somewhere where you have like the gummy recipes and like the deodorant recipes and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm revamping my website. It's coming out after Christmas. You know, I had 2 kids under 4, and I was gonna hang up. I wasn't even gonna do chiropractic or do this again because it was just a lot. We moved down here, and I just opened the St. Simon's practice a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be revamping, and I'm excited to have that site because I'm going to be doing blogs and I'm going to be having the recipes available. But if you do want a specific gummy recipe, just email me or contact me and I'll send you that.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and we'll be looking for that. That's fun and exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
I give you all the credit in the world because I don't know how you do it with kiddos. It's like just taking care of me and my husband is enough, and I don't know how mamas do it. So it's excellent for people to realize like being a small business owner is not for the weak of heart, and then to do it when you have littles around is incredible.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but we're doing it.
Good job. Thank God you know all the stuff to take care of your own health and your kiddos' health because like that's the thing is you can't be doing all these things and be not feeling well and not have your health, right?
It's absolutely true. My story, my background is I grew up in a holistic family. My mom took me to a nutrition response doctor when I was 5 for my allergies and asthma. And then it just kept coming back into my life. She ended up with pancreatic cancer. A nutrition response doctor found weak areas in her pancreas. And then she's got further testing. And I just remember as a child, I could tell the doctor, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need Antronex, with the little attitude. I know what I need. Like at a young age. So these products, like I know them in and out since I was 5, literally. And then I had the worst pregnancies ever. So I think that not even the nutrition for kids is important, but the mom before you have kids is so important. I don't know that I was at a state, I was older when I had kids, but I was not at a good nutritional state when I had my kids. And I had hyperemesis. I was throwing up 10 to 15 times a day for 2 years. And it
Wow.
was just awful. And I was like, okay, go back to what you know, go back to what you know when you're like barely getting by. It was so hard. And I was like, okay, I need to be tested. And of course, my gallbladder, and I needed FOSA food. And I just was not breaking down the fats or the food or the carbohydrates. My liver and my gallbladder needed major work. And when you're going through all those hormones, you have to have those working smoothly to have really healthy pregnancies and to nurture your children. So yes, it's so important.
It's fun because some of the best healers have their own testimony, they've healed their own body or had to advocate for themselves to find another way to find health and restore health in their own bodies. And so they become the most passionate people as far as practitioners, like, let's go help other people and hopefully find the answers faster than it took us to find them for our own body, right?
I think that is the drive of why I'm even doing this right now, because people are like, I can't believe you're doing all that. And I'm like, I don't know. I just have the energy. I have the passion for it. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and I'm sure people are glad that you are doing it. Okay, how about we talked about Bacopa for overstimulation and rosemary. Is there anything additional for concentration and focus?
um, hmm.
I know we
Can't
talked about omegas specifically
think.
for us.
Omegas for sure. Nothing's popping up right now on that one.
Okay, I think Bacopa was a good reminder because we have another company outside of Standard Process that we use, like ginkgo, like a liquid ginkgo too for memory. But I forgot
Yeah,
about.
and standard process actually just came out for adults. Well, I guess children could have it too. The neuroregenics. I've been
Yeah.
taking that one lately, and that's for like mood, depression.
Mhm.
I don't know. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I haven't
So
messed around with it yet, but we should get it.
yeah.
I always tell Gail, I'm like, if you give me the tester bottles, we'll be testing people on it. Like, if
Yeah.
I don't have a tester bottle, it'll just get forgotten. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good reminder to test on. I was excited when I saw that new product. That's the cool
Yeah,
thing.
they're
Standard Process is always like cutting edge research, like staying on it and finding you guys the best combinations. Like these formulators are like world renowned herbalists. Like they are just sometimes as they speak, you can't even really understand what they're saying. They're such biochemistry geeks. Like they get it, right?
yes.
Do you see very many kids with MTHFR?
I do. And more in the adults too. And I have it myself. So that was kind of my journey. And all this information started coming out as genetics is coming out too. And the thing about that is you don't have to go doing all this expensive testing. I mean, it's great to know if you want to know, but I can kind of decipher through the blood labs if you're going to have that gene by what your red blood cells are doing, how you're breaking down food. If you do have that gene, you absolutely cannot have folate. And that's the sprayed folate that's on everything, crackers and breads and pastas. I know that when I eat that, I get super anxious, super moody, super depressed. I don't know. It just like flips my gene over.
Mhm.
Um, Also too with that greens, and that's going to clear your liver. It's going to clear. So let's go back to the MTHFR gene.
Mhm.
A lot of this has to do with methylation, and this is a big buzzword now if you look on social media, and it can become confusing and you don't understand it very quickly. But basically, your body isn't detoxing properly, and it's just not clearing out properly. So you're getting the side effects from that. So greens have been a game changer for myself. The bitter springs. So you want the cruciferous, broccoli, kale, cauliflower. Uh, what's interesting is I just did speaking my website. I just did this photo shoot this past weekend, and I went to the grocery store because I used a lot of vegetables in my pictures,
Mhm.
and Swiss chard right now at the grocery store looks amazing. So I was picking all the weird vegetables, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get a bunch of Swiss chard, and standard process uses Swiss chard in so many
Mhm.
things.
I do.
Um, so it was cool to kind of like bring that to life, because when you go to the grocery store, most people, well, they're not just shopping the perimeter, which you should, because the inside is all processed. But when they even shop the perimeter, they're getting carrots in plastic bags. So
Mhm.
how much plastic are you obtaining? Like they're not getting the Swiss chard. They're not getting the aloe that you can put in your shakes to help with digestion. I forgot that one. And to help seal the leaky gut and things like that. So
Mhm. Cool. And then, okay, so we have this huge harvest moon right now. Everybody's always down looking at the moon, moon gazing, and doing sound bowls on the beach at the ocean and everything. Has anybody noticed that people are acting a little wild and crazy?
It is. It has been a strange few months between hurricanes and I don't know what else.
So we know parasites are more active during the full moon, and that's what, like, kiddos. Are you treating a whole lot of parasites? We see parasites, like we can't keep parasite remedies on the shelf.
All the time, all the
Mhm.
time. It's funny because when I look at blood labs, I look at that and then I test it to confirm. It's rampant. And y- viruses, parasites carry viruses, so it's usually a lot of co-infections that you have going on, gas bloating, and pets. You see pictures of people on social media kissing your pets, and I'm like, stop doing that. They're not using GSE to wash their fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
I think parasites is rampant. And if you got I'm not going to say it, but if you got the shot, then yeah, I don't know. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yes, I see it a lot. And Zymex 2, I use Cellcore. I teach just the hygiene of and making sure that your stomach acid is right so that
Mhm.
that can eat up the parasites as you ingest them.
Agreed. I know. And I mean, I know our audience knows this by now, like parasites are a thing and that you don't have to go to a third world country to get parasites. We have plenty of parasites right here in America. But I think that sometimes people, like, when they're new to this world, they're like, oh, parasites. And some of that is because the medical world doesn't observe parasites. Like, we know, like, when you muscle test, we find them tucked up under your liver and gallbladder and in little crevices. Like, they're not just always conveniently in the small sample, stool sample that you eliminate and happen to test. Like, the likelihood
Yeah.
that you're going to find it in a stool sample is pretty null. And so in the medical world, if they don't find it, it doesn't exist. That's not where we're finding parasites, right?
No, no. I mean, they love to hang out in the liver
Mm-hmm.
and also to the brain. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get weirded out by it and freaked out by it. But I try to tell them, like, I have parasites in my body right now, but it's when they overgrow and they accumulate and you have too many of them that it becomes a problem. Like, we're living beings. We have bugs on us. You just can't see them. Like, that's normal. That's your microbiome. We've become so like hand sanitizer and so sterile that we've killed everything and it's killing our health.
Agreed. We have more actual bacteria on our body than, like, probably human cells. There's more bacteria cells than human cells on and in our bodies.
Amazing.
Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Let that marinate. There's some of the weird stuff. What about for growing pains?
Oh, this is my daughter completely. She's so tall. I have a tall husband. I'm like, you're gonna be taller than me. Um, oh goodness. I really just go back to the fish oil, like just lubricating the joints and making sure that she's getting enough of the right oils. Uh, none of the stuff that's going to inflame you, for one, because of the joint pain. And making sure that, yeah, you don't have parasites because parasites love joints and arthritis and things like that.
Yeah, true. And how about for acute care, like cuts and scrapes, that kind of stuff?
Oh, I love aloe,
Mhm.
aloe plants. Um, yeah. Oh gosh. Helichrysum.
Mhm.
Helichrysum is
Yeah.
a good one as well. That one's more expensive, but it smells really good and I love that one. Um,
Some of the blends, isn't it?
uh-huh, it is.
Yeah, so you could get it for a little less if you buy a blend than the actual bottle, but it's worth
And my
like
kids,
a drop.
yeah, my kids
Mhm.
love the, essential oils to play with.
Mhm.
Epsom salt, so healing, you know.
Do you use the chlorophyll complex by standard process very much? I kind of had forgotten about it, and Gail brought it up when we were together recently.
Yeah, I guess I've forgotten about that one too, but I know it's great.
Yeah.
I know it pulls a lot.
I know you mentioned the skin biome product, dermacolonizer. They keep renaming everything. Standard
Yeah.
Practice is combining with another company, Elementum Labs, and so they're reformulating and relabeling. And for muscle testers, it's stressful because we can't just be like, oh yeah, take the replacement. We're like, we have to test it, we have to dose it. Like we're very specific about it. But when that skin biome isn't available, do you guys had to find another like topical remedy for like the eczema kiddos and some of the cuts and
I just make my own with the prosymbiotics or the systemic formula probiotics,
okay.
with some essential oils and use it that way.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
was like there's a recipe for a naked balm, which is like coconut oil, beeswax. I forget what the third oil is. And then basically you can add whatever healing oils or remedies that you want to this naked balm, but you can use that balm as like a base for pretty much anything.
Oh, I like that. So, are you seeing a lot of eczema too?
Yeah, because we're like the rash people now.
I know. I've never.
Americans spend $33 billion every single year on diets and weight loss products, and yet diets have a 95% failure rate. These statistics and my 18 plus years experience as a practicing doctor show me the real dangers of a cookie cutter approach to health, and that truthfully, diets don't work. This is why I created the 90-10 lifestyle, for the people like you and me, busy and not willing to settle for less when it comes to our health and wellness. This program isn't just about feeling fantastic and or losing weight for good. It's a roadmap to upgrading your body and mind from the inside out, while simultaneously suppressing the inflammation and suppressing the guilt that often comes with a high stress, high expectations, and high performance. The number one reason the 90-10 lifestyle is so effective and easy to maintain is that it gives you back your willpower instead of forcing it.
What is the weirdest thing? I do want to ask you this. Okay, I never, ever remember when I was a kid having molluscum or molluscum.
Right.
Why are
Right.
molluscum all over the map now? Do you have any theories on that?
I really think it's the microbiome. I did the test and my microbiome was terrible. And people are having more C-sections. I think
Yeah.
it's inherited. I think it comes from and we're becoming more sterile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
hand
What
sanitizers and
what is the book? I'll have to go back and look at it, but we have to read it. For you probably read it as required reading for nutrition response testing training, like the cats, and it's like 3 generations, like within 3 generations, they're all sterile. So it's like, whatever mama's health and diet is, it's gonna impact 3 generations later.
yeah, and that goes with heavy metals too, like the
Mhm.
lead and the mercury, and which is amazing that it can go back that far.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think sometimes because people tend to be, even in our world, it's easy to want like an instant fix. And I think on the reverse side of that, we think that whatever we're finding was something we did yesterday or last week. And as well as I do, like when we find these toxins, like it could have been in utero, it could have been from another generation. It could be for our adult patients, like something from childhood that's just persisted and never got cleared out of the body. It's not always like you did something and then we find it. That does happen too, but right, like especially with
Yeah,
patients, like you have no idea how long these things have been in the body.
yeah, and going back to the way that we work is it's not going to be instant. We have to first make sure your detox pathways are opened up and that your drainage, going back to that first, and then we're going to continue to pull. But you're going to be better off in the long run by doing it this way. It's not just like a quick, here, take this bottle and it's gone. You
Yeah.
have to constantly be working at it.
And parasites are tricky too. Like every single, first they freak out. They're like, parasites, oh my gosh, that's so gross. How do you get parasites? So once we get past that initial conversation, then they're like, well, how long is it going to take? I'm like, okay, well, it's not just a like one remedy.
I don't know. They keep hatching.
Yeah, and it's just you have to cycle on and off, sometimes the same remedy and sometimes different remedies and come at it from different angles. So I know people don't like that answer. First they are grossed out that they know they have them and they're like, how long do I have to keep these things? A lot less once we start working on them is the answer, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how that aspect of nutrition has really grown too with the parasites and the protocols for that. It used to be just take this, and now there's several companies that are doing different things. And
Yeah.
so,
And I know you mentioned Cellcore. We love Cellcore. And we personally, I mean, I've been in practice for 20 years. So, I mean, the very nature of it is like the things that used to work don't always work anymore. You know,
right. They're
more
smart.
toxic. Yep, our environment is more toxic. We're under a lot more stress. These viruses and things mutate. Like you have to stay ahead of it. So that's like when you talk about science, like it's ever evolving and growing, and you have to keep adding knowledge and you have to keep adding more tools to your tool belt because you can't say nothing in health is stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I just love that the companies we work with are also on the same page with changing their products and being updated with that too.
Yeah.
It's great.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's one thing I think that people can, it's worth working with a practitioner for because you know that we do our due diligence and research to like very heavily scrutinize these products. Like you can know and feel confident that if it's something that we feel confident putting our name and license behind and carrying and recommending, that like it checks a lot of boxes, right?
I spend hours curating. I like to know it all. I like to know why, what's in it, how many people it's helped, why it's helped. I mean, my husband's like, are you still like when I read at night, that's when I'm reading. He's like, don't you get tired of doing it, like reading that stuff? And I'm like, no, I want to know. So
I know, I agree with you. Well, and that kind of leads me like, okay, let's talk about DIYing your health. This is like my nemesis, just so you know, like like there's some groups that I am part of on Facebook and like what we're trying to teach you is very largely how to DIY your health and be prepared and have things on hand and be knowledgeable because there is so much that we can do for ourselves. And I'm still grateful to this day when something happens with my family or my own body or my pets that I'm like, gosh, I can test them. I have these things on hand. Like I can get the process started until I can get more information or get in to see somebody. That's what we want for you guys. But there are certain things that you cannot DIY. What are your thoughts on that?
I think a water source is key, and a filter
Mhm.
on your water. And finding that, I think water's a big one.
Mhm.
Is this where you were wanting me to go with that?
It's wherever you want to go.
Yeah,
I just know
yeah,
that like I'm in Facebook groups, for example, and like it sometimes is and forgive me, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but like sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. I'm like, there's certain things that you need to just give it over to a practitioner and let us help
right.
you with our knowledge and professionalism, which yes, sometimes there's an exchange for money. Like you can't do everything for free. But I think it was more
Yeah.
like what, you know, like when is it okay to DIY your health and seek out your peers and do things on your own? And then when do you need to like just give it over to a practitioner and bite the bullet and be willing to pay for the office visit or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the herbal medicine cabinet is key for when you get a fever and when you get a cold. And then you can start by, if you have a fever, taking the calcium lactate and then get into an office visit to figure out if it's a virus, bacterial, fungal, mold, parasite, yeast, whatever it is, so
Yeah.
that we can really pinpoint that and get ahead of it. Getting ahead of it is key. A lot of people don't get ahead of it. They sit on it and then it turns into more. And then you start getting the green and then the infection. And it's just like, I'm always ahead of it. If my kids are sniffling, I'm like, oh, here you go. Oh, here you go. And
Mhm.
I get ahead of it. And they never hardly ever get into a full blown out cold. They've never had an antibiotic. But I've never had to go. I've never had to go to the doctor. I mean, they're 4 and 3, and I just have not had to go with them. So
I love it. Well, it's amazing because like but you're knowledgeable, right? So you know what to have on hand. It's because of your expertise and experience and what that you know what to have on hand. And the more that
Yeah.
people do this, the more they can identify things early and identify like things that I think sometimes people think like, oh, the sniffles, it's normal, or okay, I'm a little tired today, that's normal. But then like 3 days later, they're like, oh shoot, I wish I listened to those symptoms. So
Absolutely. Your body, there's a book, when your body says no, and your body tells you things all the time. So listen to your body and being in tune to that. And the clearer you get with the work that we do, you're going to be more in tune. Like some of my best clients are like the ones that are like, I got to get in because I feel like something's coming on. I'm like, yes, you did the right thing. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
I know I think sometimes with today's culture, people think like, oh, I don't want to get anybody sick. And that's great. Like come in during, we'll tell
Yeah.
you to come like during a less busy time or right before lunch hour, or we might have you like go directly into a treatment room instead of being like coughing or hacking in the waiting room where other families are. But we want you to come in when you're feeling under the weather to
Yes.
help you
I
get.
always emphasize that too. Like, please come. This is what I do. This is what we're supposed to be doing.
I mean, I know sometimes there's like you just don't feel like getting if you are responsible for your own transportation and you're just under the weather enough.
Oh, sure.
We do virtual appointments. Do you do virtual appointments
I
as well?
do. I do telehealth.
Yeah. So I think that having the well-stocked medicine cabinet helps me a ton when we're going to do virtual because then I'm like, okay, give me a screenshot of what you've got, show me your leftovers, take a picture of your like medicine cabinet and we'll start using what you've got, and I'm like, do you have this? Do you have that? And when the patient's like, yep, I have Conjuplex, I have Imuplex, I have Antronex, I'm like, how
Yes.
like great job.
Yes. It's actually one of my favorite parts of practice are those calls. I
Yeah.
get a lot of those calls actually with PMS or menstruating, with the cramping or the like, the down and out feeling. I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I have my little protocols there for that and
Yeah.
helps.
We have some too in the episode 51, I think is what I said. That was a big one because there's so much
Yeah,
that you can have on hand for that time of the month.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that was helpful. So we talked a little bit about compliance, but some of the pushback that we get from some mamas who weren't raised on nutrition response testing since the age of 5 or their kids aren't, like sometimes mamas, like I find that sometimes it's very common that a woman starts to get interested in natural remedies and reading labels and getting empowered about what they're serving their family, at least after the first child, if not on the second child. Do you find the same thing? Like that's kind of a turning point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then of course they're always like on the second pregnancy, like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew you then.
Yes.
But it is neat to see the difference between the first pregnancy before doing natural medicine and chiropractic and the second, the experience can be very drastically different, which is fun. But what about for like families that this is their first time or just picky kids? Like sometimes they're a totally crunchy family and the kids just like totally rejecting it. So tips and tricks for like if it tastes bad or they can't swallow pills, that kind of stuff.
Getting them involved in cooking. My
Mhm.
daughter has a cute little apron and she has the knives that are safe to cut with and
Fun.
I have fun with it. Like, all right, let's chop all the carrots, then throw them in the air. Like, who cares if you make a mess?
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be perfect. And
Mhm.
um, the gummies are huge. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. And it's such good nutrition when you add the gelatin to it, or yeah, the gelatin.
Mhm.
Um, so I think the gummies and just getting them involved, teaching them the colors of the rainbow, teaching them proper nutrition. Like, let's eat all these colors. Let's try to eat all these colors today. How many colors of the rainbow did you eat today? Oh, I only had orange, usually the brown and orange, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, let's try to get some purple or whatever.
Mhm. I think that's
And
great.
then, like if they're having fun and they're jiving with it and be like, hey, can you crush this up and put it in your drink? Like, get
Mhm.
fun straws, get, um, fun drink cups. My daughter, oh my goodness, I have to tell you, she's turning 5 and she's like, I want a Stanley cup for my birthday. And I'm like, I don't even own a Stanley cup, but if you're going to drink your vitamins, here you go.
There you go.
You
And
know?
they have little shorter ones too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of her, like I have one right here. She can even like lift this thing when it's full.
Yes. Actually, I think she has that same one. That's so funny.
She'll drink more water if she can lift the big one, so that's good. Cute. And I love that like the conversation just naturally kind of led into like you can't fix everything with a pill, even though our pills are natural and grown on a farm and everything. Like what you've heard, I'm glad you're just repeating what I've said because my audience is probably tired of hearing me say these things over and over. But like you can't separate the lifestyle and the diet and the quality of the products you're using on and in the body. Like you've heard those themes weaved in and out throughout this whole entire conversation, even though we were going to focus on well-stocked medicine cabinet. You'll find we can't tease it apart, right?
For sure.
Do you want to give my audience the sugar lesson so I don't have to again?
No. Sugar.
Yeah.
Inositol
Yeah.
is
And it's
great.
naturally
And kids love inositol. It's like the
Mhm.
candy for kids. When Halloween comes, which is approaching, our family, we do participate in trick-or-treating, but I give them choices, and then I have my natural candy at home, and when they get home, I mix it in and I pull out all the other junk,
There you
and then
go.
I start to like throw the other away little by little, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gone. We ate it all. I don't know how much longer I can get away with that, but the one, honestly, the one that I like is Gymnema. Have them suck on that, and then it loses the taste of sugar. It changes the taste buds in your mouth. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And this is really great for diabetics and people that just crave sugar during the holidays. The holiday months are coming up, and I keep Gymnema even in my own cabinet because it's everywhere. And then if you're going to go to a party, take some of those, and you're just not going to want the sugar.
Yeah, I know we do use that for our sugar addicts. We do that around the holidays. You do the Gymnema challenge, like you have them swish a little bit of Gymnema and then have them take like a peppermint
I
or
love it.
yeah,
I
so
love
you
it.
can't taste the sweet. So like you might taste the mint, but it doesn't taste sweet anymore. Or like a
It is
chocolate,
so
tastes
fun.
like wax because you don't get all the sweet. Like we have to
It's
pull
so
out the
cool.
Gymnema challenge and just ruin everybody's holiday by
Yes.
having to take the challenge. But it does work. And it works like on 3 things. Like it works on the reward centers in the brain, so you're not lighting up that pleasure center. It works on the pancreas, like for your insulin response, and it anesthetizes your taste buds to the flavor of it. So it's like whatever your issue is, it just zips it. That's a good
It's the
one.
hack. It's the
Mhm.
sugar hack.
It is a sugar hack. And then do you have some favorite labs for kids? Because we both do functional medicine.
Yeah, I'm curious to know yours too, but I usually always like the CBC with differentials because that's going to
Mhm.
dive deep into knowing virus, parasite, bacterial,
Mhm.
allergies. If we need to get into food testing, the IgG test, it's more
Mhm.
expensive. If they'll let you prick their finger, the omega-3 test is
Mhm.
awesome. And the vitamin D, I mean, we need to make sure that vitamin D is high.
Yeah. I
Are
know
there
we don't
any?
do a
Yeah.
lot of labs on kids, honestly. So I was curious what you did.
Yeah.
And then if people want to do the genetic testing for MTHFR, they can do that also.
Yes.
We I started diving into like nutrigenomics and genetic testing because I just think it's so fascinating. And when you start to learn more about methylation, and you probably already do, but I don't know, it's one of those things like I don't know why TSH became the golden standard for measuring thyroid health because it's not a
Yeah.
thyroid hormone. Well, along those same lines, I don't know how MTHFR became the gold standard for measuring methylation because like it's a much more complicated. Like you mentioned liver and gallbladder and the hormones that are related. There's like over a dozen different genes and genetic SNPs that that are responsible for methylation. So even if you don't have MTHFR, there's like MTHD and MTHF and all these other varieties of, I don't know how MTHFR became like the gold
Yeah.
standard, right?
I'm not big into jumping into genetic testing right away.
Mhm.
I can get a lot from just the blood labs and the nutrition response testing. But
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, if you have that personality, you just need to know, you got to know, then
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think 21andMe or something, I think you can get it through them too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and we can talk about it. I think you and I have similar philosophies because we can gain so much just from the usual, which for us is the nutrition response testing. And there's a lot of answers in the traditional blood work, like the standard blood work that most people already have at home that you could read. That for us, the functional medicine was added for people who are non-responding or have more complicated or doing all the usual, but we need to go deeper. Or there's like they've made a lot of progress in a lot of areas and there's like a couple of unresolved issues and we want to go explore, like get to the root of that kind of thing. So we don't do a lot of labs on every single person. It's usually not the starting place for sure.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I thought so. I was kind of getting that. Well, do you want to share like one or two favorite testimonials before we wrap up?
Oh, sure. Oh, let's see.
I put her on the spot.
It's okay. Um, I think my favorite are the seizure patients, the kids. They just respond so well. And the families have been through so much when they have a seizure, a child with seizures. I mean, it's like major trauma, it's major anxiety. It's not fun to watch your kids go through that. And usually, and if it's like febrile, it's scary. And just for them to have some answers is it's just heartwarming to me because usually the medical approach is monitor with meds and these expensive tests of the brain. And I've just had great result. I think it's the upper cervical work that I do with that specific because I'm in the area of where everything's happening with upper cervical.
Yeah.
I think those are my favorite with kids. I love the ear infections because they respond right away. Um,
And you're saving their gut health for the rest of their life by not having the rounds and rounds of antibiotics for the standard therapies.
yeah. Scoliosis. I see a lot of that. That responds really well too. I don't really, I mean, back surgery and bracing, and that's just like, whoa, that just goes into more infections, potential infection risks. And if we can just get that underhand, you know, with chiropractic and the right adjustment and
And you can't go
monitoring.
back from that, right? So it's like there's
Right.
that decision, and often the decision is made for the kid, like in
It
adult,
is.
like, well, nobody really interviewed me about whether I wanted this done or not. And
Yeah.
that I don't know that anybody would be like, yeah, I would do it all over again. I would make the same decision.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's different scoliosis and different severities. Like there's a time and place for everything. Traditional, natural, preventative, and sometimes it's inevitable, but there is
Yeah.
a lot that can be done to manage it. You're right. Okay, and then everybody, I think another like compliance issue is people who travel because we have a lot of people that live in RVs. We have people that are snowbirds and go, up north for part of the year and down south for part of the year, and then just traveling for work. So when you guys travel, what do you pack? Like supplements, food, what
Oh, yeah.
what's in your like bag?
I will tell you, I learned this lesson the hard way because I'm like, oh, I don't have it and I need it. I have a fever. Why don't I have calcium lactate? Because you never
Yeah,
know when this is going to pop up.
right.
Calcium lactate, of course, Congaplex, always. Um, oh, what else do I pack with
Probably
me?
a lot of
Those two for
essential oils because those are kind of easy to
yeah,
put together.
yeah, for sure. Oh, sometimes like the chamomile tea,
Yeah,
um, it just settles them down
yeah.
if we're
It's not a
traveling.
whole lot of ton of stuff. There's like a few simple things like can kind of
Sure.
full spectrum and used for a lot of different purposes. Save your whole family, like make the travels a lot more manageable and fun if everybody's feeling good, right?
Yes.
Well, that's always fun. I like asking everybody that because like I prefer to travel by car so that I can bring my food and my water and my pillow and all my remedies and
My
supplements,
pillow.
protein
That's
shake.
huge.
Yeah,
I love my
as
pillow.
a chiropractor, of course, we're gonna bring our own pillow.
Yes.
So like when we go see my stepson, he's only at like I don't know, maybe 7 hours away. They can't believe how much stuff we've packed when we come. And then we bring all the stuff for the dogs and we make the dogs food and everything. And I'm just like, well, like why do you have to sacrifice just because you're like, like for us, it's not a negotiable. It's a non-negotiable now, like how we eat and live and taking our supplements. And it doesn't matter if we're on the road or we're home, like we find a way to make it happen. So I love to hear from other practitioners what they bring.
I even put Catalyn in my daughter's lunch, so she's
Yeah.
getting it throughout the day.
I love it.
So, yeah.
And she takes it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is so fun. Any closing comments, anything that you want to wrap up with and say to the audience as far as like family health?
Yeah, so happy to be on here. I want to come visit you. You're close enough.
I know we're not that far away, so we do need to meet each other.
For sure. No, I just thank you for the opportunity, and going into this holiday season with the kiddos, Halloween can be different for you guys, and Christmas, and then after that is Valentine's, and then Easter. It's like we're going into this sugar fest, and it changes a family. It changes people's moods. It gets people sick, and really try the inositol and try different things with the Gymnema. So check me out, alphacarehealth.com. I'm in St. Simons if you're ever through there. And check out my social medias.
Yeah, check out the show notes because I'll put all your social media and website links for everyone too.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have a live new website coming the new year. So.
Hey, well, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Thank you so much. Great meeting you.
Yeah, great to meet you. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Weird Works podcast, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we will talk with you soon.
Are you tired of going from diet to diet to come up short and feel worse than you did when you started? Or are you just lost with all the mixed messaging out there today and not sure what's best for you and your lifestyle? Maybe you were told that you had to live with your symptoms and accept feeling less than your typical vibrant self. Well, I'm here to tell you the truth. As a practicing doctor of chiropractic, kinesiology, and clinical nutrition, I see people all the time that are just like you, frustrated and starting to lose hope. But I do want you to know that you do not have to give up on the you that you know you could be. There is a way to truly achieve optimal health and also to live your life. I want to share with you how, by doing some small, doable adjustments and taking on a new approach to enjoyable and non-restrictive eating, we can help you start feeling better and begin to see changes in your waistline and start releasing weight in as little as 14 days.